Yo, so there's a lot of people out there who care about freedom, who take different positions on different things, and that's beautiful. Everyone's got a mind of their own, they're embracing their uniqueness, which is their individual conscience, while looking at the whole world and saying, well, what is best for all of us? There must be something that we have to follow. Maybe we have to look to nature. And to recognize nature to begin with is a very important step. And this is why I say nature is the answer, because we can learn from nature to understand the solution to all our problems, and essentially the nature as to our creation, the nature to ourselves, the nature of the world, everything. So basically it's all the matter of knowledge. However, there's people who take nature to an extreme in the sense of saying that we should just live in nature with nothing that is man-made, nothing that is technological. Now there's some people who say, well, there's an arbitrary line as to how much technology we should permit or not permit. And these are the individuals who call themselves anarcho-primitivists. They still are using their arbitrary whim to determine what should be allowed and not allowed in society. Now, they call themselves anarcho-primitivist, meaning anarchist, meaning they shouldn't want to impose their will on others. Therefore, what's it relevant to say what you want in a free world if a free world means people can do whatever they want, other than to say that you want things in the free world to be a certain way, but the only way you can get that, because you're not imposing your will on others with violence through the state, is through education. So, fair enough, you want to educate people about the dangers of technology or advanced technology. And this is why you are an anarcho-primitivist, because you are an anarchist and you are somebody who's technically a primitivist, somebody who wants, less technology. Now, that being said, and the fact that you can probably make 100 other labels, anarcho-capitalism, anarcho-this, anarcho-that, anarcho-syndicalism, there's a billion different ones, and you can just keep making more. The point is that they're all just flavors of the same thing, which is anarchy, which is that people can decide what to do with their own life so long as it's voluntary, so long that it's peaceful and no violence is legitimized, no aggression is seen as natural or moral to society. So be it, right? And I listen to the woods as I speak right now. That's why I took that pause. Because looking to nature and looking to our authority, our real authority, God or the natural world, and realizing there's natural laws that exist, realizing there's rules that we're always going to create, realizing that education is about evolving our nature that we were given to become our higher nature that we can become, that we maybe must become. It's all just showing the importance of nature. But to say that technology is not part of that evolution is mistaken. Now some people will say, what about certain robots? What about 5G and smart this and that? And yeah, some of it can seem extreme. Some of it is fearful in humans for a reason. But can you stop that? Can you truly stop innovation or capitalism? Or can you stop a system of a belief system that people don't realize that they have? An evil that they are contributing to, thinking that it's good. Because that is the difference. Technology can be a similar thing. People think it's good and it can be doing evil to them. I call technology the second government. I have a whole video dedicated to it. I have a whole chapter in my Sapientia Naturae book titled Natural Intelligence, which goes into essentially the dangers with artificial intelligence, which probably hits the nail on the underlying concern with anarcho-primitivists. And I can really sympathize with that position. The problem is the focus is not necessarily on technology being bad, but really government and statism, the beliefs in the masses being bad, because people's mindsets and their behaviors determines everything else. What technology will be created and what technology will be used for. Because technology is a tool, and anything from a book to a glass can be a form of technology, just certain ones are more advanced than others. And again, you would have to be drawing an arbitrary line as to what is actually considered advanced. Now, if you want to get specific and say this is what counts as advanced or dangerous technology, that would cause a really interesting conversation. And you know what? If you're passionate about it and you think technology will really destroy things, because I can see that as a possibility for sure, then you can educate people about that. And you can have a really strong basis for that. You can come up with the whole foundation as to saying this is how technology operates and this is where it gets dangerous, these are the certain effects, etc. Right? Of course, I have a whole chapter dedicated to natural effects as well. So you can tie this into a lot of my works, and some people will assume of me that I'm an anarcho-primitivist. Some people will even assume I'm a anarcho-capitalist because I like, people trading with one another voluntarily and creating their own things. But I don't agree with that term either, because the focus on capitalism or the focus on primitivism is not where the focus of anarchism is. They're separate topics. Anarchism is the idea that people should be free, which means there isn't really one way of life. You mix it with one way of life, it starts to get a little confusing and imposing. Doesn't mean that you can't have that. You're always going to have opinions of your own way of living life. The difference is that people want to attach themselves to labels, and they feel like they need a certain color, or they feel like they need an identity, and that already by itself is a stray away from nature. So I don't know if the anarcho-primitivists realize this or not, but they are actually causing their own demise by using the title. They're contradicting themselves, in other words. Usually I do my videos all in one cut, but I'm taking my time with this one because, frankly, nature is a very important topic to me, and I think it's important people recognize it. I think anarcho-pacifism is also great. Even anarcho-feminism is great. If you see the value in where they are, why they exist, and why people follow them, and as long as they're not imposing on it on anybody, I really don't have a concern with it. It's just the focus that matters, because we're not there yet. Not many people even understand what anarchy means or what true freedom is. And to equate that to anarchy, most people already think anarchy is chaos. So there's steps that we have to make, and there's a lot of people who are also vegans who want to push veganism, anarcho-veganism you can call it. But realize again, they're two separate scenarios. Can you do both of these at once? And you can say, I should always promote the truth, and what I see is the truth. Okay, do you have to identify with it? Or could you teach people the fundamentals, always breaking it down, and therefore never attaching yourself to the strings, to the flavors, saying, I love chocolate, chocolate is my flavor, I am an anarcho-chocolatist. Okay, because I really like chocolate, I really do. I want to grow the cocoa beans myself. It doesn't mean that I want to tell everybody that, because it's not important for the world at this current moment. Yeah, chocolate can probably help a lot of people with heart disease and people who are craving love and all sorts of things, right? But it's not necessarily going to help us free ourselves in the whole long run to even attain that, to even attain chocolate, to grow chocolate, all this other stuff that we want to share, to defeat technology. If governments still exist, they will have access to the technology. They will keep the best technologies to themselves, and then they will use that for evil. And the mass populace does not have the ability to fight back, and they're being spied on in every corner, which they are. And so this is what the system we have now. You get rid of the government, guess what? Technology becomes decentralized. And guess what? More technology occurs because more innovation, more creativity occurs. So you can't stop creativity. You can't stop innovation. In fact, it's always going to happen because that is the real government of this world. It's the market. It's innovation. If people have a demand, so there will be a supply. And that's how it works for roads and defense or whatever it is. Humans will find a way. Just certain ways humans have attached themselves to and think that's the only way. And that's in the case of government, where people say we need to have a government, it needs to be this way, it needs to be that way, and it can't be any other way, and if you disagree, you're going to be caged up or thrown away or whatever, right? It's all arbitrary, and it's okay if it was arbitrary without the imposition, but arbitrary with the imposition, it becomes government. So have your own opinions, have your own views, respect nature for sure, see the dangers in artificial intelligence, don't ignore it. but also see the value in it, in how every time there's been an innovation in freedom in history, it's always been due to the increase of education. That meaning, with the printing press, you came the abolitionist. Josiah Warren was one of the first people who, one of the first anarchists ever, an abolitionist from the 1800s, set up his own free towns, also invented a printing press. William Lloyd Garrison did all his liberator newspapers by hand, on a printing press as well. And that enabled them to reach the masses of the whole nation and say, slavery is wrong, we need to end it, here's the reason why, here's our poems, here's our spirit, here's our passion. Then they got to express themselves. The Bible, instead of going through a church or going through a priest or an interpreter, everybody was able to print it or able to read it and be their own interpreter. And so then you had the Enlightenment era. But with the Enlightenment, you had many more papers being produced, people producing their own newspapers, people producing their own documents, just thinking more for themselves because they had access to greater amount of information. It wasn't only kept to the philosophers or to the king's daughters and sons. There were people who now were able to free their own minds because knowledge is the prerequisite. And so, if you look at technology in that light, it can be a beautiful thing, in the light of cryptocurrency, in the light of, counter economics and, the amount of different ways to innovate that people have never considered before. And that's what really is the heart of technology, is magic. The idea that there's something that can exist that we never perceived can exist before. You were not able to predict how technology would evolve. You'll not see many writers talking about this. And of course, I'm around a lot of people, and they're bringing bikes, they're bringing technology with them into the forest. They don't have to do that, they might feel an attachment to that. That's where it becomes a problem. But they can have it and realize that there's something higher, realize that they're using it for a certain purpose. They can use it to their benefit, to find more nature, to learn more about the natural world around them. And then, is it really a bad thing? Or is it, in the grand scheme of things, bad because they can learn without it, and they would actually learn more without it, and they would have more fun in the discovery process? You can break down all these different things, as I do in my books, and find out, nature is right and better in every aspect of life, but you can't disregard what is inevitable or what is really helpful for humanity, what got us to this point in intelligence, and what is ultimately good and bad for ourselves, which is power in technology or money or whatever. The knowledge can be used for good or for bad. The tools can be used for good or for bad. I think Tolkien said it best. He's like, I wish we can stay in the simple days where people had horses and carriages, they drink tea. But it got to the point where it became industrialized, in the Industrial Revolution. And this is why you had a lot of transcendentalist writers like Ralph Waldo Emerson or Henry David Thoreau talking about the problems with the modern world and having to return to nature. It sparked then because they were in the industrial era. They saw it growing past the point of community, past the point of what kept us in our nature for so long. And so if people are missing that connection, I totally understand. And I think deep down inside, a lot of people, they want that connection. So there's a great deal of value in primitivism if you look at it through that sense, through that lens. But unfortunately, the term is too generalized, and people may mean many different things. And frankly, what people just want is nature or anarchy, which is the same thing. They want freedom to make up their own mind, and if the world is as it is to be the world, as it is to be our governor, then things will sort of naturally work out from there. Do you not think so? I'm using a camera right now to speak. You, if you're responding to this video, are probably going to use technology to do so as well. Realize it's a tool. Realize it's a bridge. Realize it's not the end, nor is it the beginning, nor is it the authority, and then you see nature's authority. And that's what matters. Thank you very much for watching. This is Corey Angelant. Nature is the answer. be sure to check out the Liberator 2 news project that I'm starting up, where anybody can contribute, whether you have one view or another. If you agree that we should live in a voluntary free world, share your thoughts, educate the world through this platform. I'm allowing everybody to contribute, doesn't matter who you are, and that's the beautiful part about this project. Everyone can get involved. It's not about the money, it's about the education, it's about truly freeing the world. Just like the Liberator 1 from the 1800s, we're going to bring that back with the Liberator 2. theliberator.us.